Okay. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Um, because I'm in retreat, the space I'm in is very like obvious to me, like what I perceive as a dream. And therefore, when I have these so-called like enemies or nemesis, it's harder to just have that knee jerk, like, oh, I hate them. Why are they bugging me? Why are they doing this? What's wrong with them? It's like you can still think that, of course. And actually, as you know, I argue that thinking that is the deliciousness of being a human. It's like the Cheeto puff that you eat. You're like, it's like a flavor. Being a human allows you to taste these kinds of flavors. But for me, I've been more wondering that character is perfectly attuned to be my nemesis in some kind of way to bring something out of me. And there's some aspect of me that's having fun with this, even if it's like kind of miserable in the process and even like scared of people, like really unpredictable, wild people kind of being violent. Something I was thinking about is like I see this archetypal experience quite a bit actually, where imagine that you are not just the world's best chess player, but you were like the cosmic originator of chess. You were like chess, the god of chess, or like chess personified. And so when you decide to become a human, not only will you kill everyone at chess, you're so gifted, it's like beyond you can even think about it. In order for you to even touch chess as a human and still have fun, you need to be able to have some kind of opponent to make it kind of risky for you. Like you need to have someone almost seeming like your equal who could beat you, for you to feel like chess is fun again. Because otherwise, you know so much about chess in so many dimensions that humans can't even perceive that like I said, you're kind of like the originator of chess energy. So what you probably need to do is have helpers, and you need to have like what I consider like energetic helpers, almost like parasites that make you dumb and make you compulsively be bad at chess, you know. And as you know that you can consider these entities or they can grow into entities, but you need to like tie your arms behind your back somehow to make chess harder for you, but in an artificial way. Because if you're your cosmic self here as a human, then you're no longer human, right? Like there's something about being human, which I find really interesting. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, obviously. It's just my perception, or my current perception. It's like the being human necessitates a kind of a lack. Like you're not there already. Like you don't feel like you're there. Getting there seems almost impossible. you know, like like you are never there. Or even when you get there, like have you ever experienced this where like you have the birthday party or you have the big you move up in your company or whatever and like you have some sort of which should be a celebration, like you graduate or whatever, but it's like this like empty feeling and or anxiousness, or you're like now what, like it was such, yeah, such an artificial almost, it was an artificial construct for you to hang yourself on. And it's become clear to you in that moment how artificial it was because it wasn't even a celebration when it comes to it. I know a guy who has a heart issue. I mean, it's really interesting. I think he literally had like medical heart issues, but I see a huge energetic heart issue with him. And with him, physically, he cannot exercise too much, or else his heart will literally explode and he will die. So energetically, what that looks like is like it's, oh, your 50th birthday party, woohoo! And here's like the cake, and everyone's singing, and everyone loves you, and there's all these like candles. It's time for you to blow it out. And he just like limits his fun. He limits his pleasure because he's afraid his heart is going to burst. And I think that's interesting. I might ask you to tie it all together, but I'm like, do you see the ties, or do you want me to tie it together?
I don't see the ties yet.
Okay, okay, okay. So this guy whose heart is literally going to burst if he's too excited. and loves too much, his let's say mission in life is probably to be in movies where it's like you kind of have to like go for it and you might die in the process, but if you don't go for it, you can never live with yourself. So maybe you have to get into that plane and drive up into the atmosphere, into space where the plane isn't even meant to go and go up against the aliens. Because if you don't do it, you'll never live with yourself. Or some other equivalent, because stories just have similar vibrations in them. So that's the vibration, okay? And that was like one story that had that vibration. So this guy, he needs to fall in love or be excited or love life or just allow himself to enjoy the love people are sharing with him on his 50th birthday as he blows out the candles, even at risk of dying from a heart attack or whatever. Because if he doesn't do that, he's allowing these artificial like parasites to tie his arm behind his back so he can't play chess, you know? So you can imagine, like, for him, maybe he's the biggest lover ever. Like, maybe that's his mission. But in order to make him earn it or help him feel it as a human, he needed to have this artificial heart thing. And so, like, everyone has this, and I think you know this. I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. And back to the nemesis. What are they making me feel? Like what experience am I having that I can't have if I'm the ultimate chess, whatever, whatever. You don't experience victory when you are that cosmic chess originator. Like you don't experience drama, you don't experience a thrill. Um, there's a, like, and I'll say this other thing. This might seem unrelated, maybe it is. There's um there's a path you go through when you go up in consciousness and you heal yourself. And as you go up in vibration, you're ridding yourself of your own personal entities. But I think that when you're at like the tip top highest level, that's even possible for a human being, you're always going to have like exterior entities. And therefore, I feel like the game you're playing is a little bit different because let's say you cleared yourself of your entities. Number one, you'll always have your ego, which is your in-house entity. So, like your perception of self will probably always challenge you in the way that, like, when you graduate and you feel empty, that was your perception of self showing how empty it was to you. You are not that straight A student graduator. Like that doesn't do much for you. Um, but when you're at the tip top and you only have your ego as your in-house entity and not so much like unhealed weird stuff, then you have like these global entities and you might still find yourself with many nemesis, like many people trying to get you down and many things going haywire. And it's almost funny because it's obvious. It's obvious that this is tripping up. Like this person's tripping up. Like the other day, I was buying soap, and here you do this thing where you can like refill your soap bottle and whatever, and you get a discount of 10% if you bring your own bottle. Whereas if you have to buy a whole bottle from them, you have to pay the full amount. And this woman was taking over the stand because the guy who normally runs it wasn't there at that moment. So I told her, okay, so I get a 10% discount because I brought my own bottle. And she's like, and she just had a conniption fit and she like threw everything at me and she's like, I don't know what to charge you. I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't know how to do this math. So I like did it for her. And she was just so upset. She was just so upset. Like, to me, it was very obvious that her entity, her shame entity, was doing something to her. And then by doing something to her, it was trying to rattle my day, because it's harder for me to have that kind of attack. But she can have that kind of attack. So what does this do for me? You know, like what, how does this enrich my experience?
Well, I mean, if I'm going along with the chess example, I think this is what I understand, which is technically you're the original nemesis, and that you are being confronted by all these other nemesis for fun.
I think at that tippy top level, basically, okay, so when you're going up in vibration, your shadow is literally like the truth of who you are that you've hidden from yourself, you know? And so like excavating your shadow and integrating it is a huge part of your healing process. But at some point, I think your ego is quite light. You still have an ego, but and it can still get triggered and everything, but it's still quite light. So what's your shadow? I think it's actually like the cosmic everything else because you and I are the same cosmic being, right? Having two different experiences or two different aspects of the same experience. And therefore, that, let's say the soap lady was my nemesis. I mean, very minor, but anyway, still, she's just a different aspect of the cosmic mind. Like, but then when you get there, like socks are a different aspect of the cosmic mind, and pants and bricks and shoes and inanimate objects, they're also different aspects of the cosmic mind. Then you kind of slide into the whole like, what is an NPC? But whatever. Do you have a comment?
Mm, no, I have a question.
Okay.
So then why why are you still having that experience then? I'm still not clear of the woman not being able to do the calculation and
Like,
having a
why am I
meltdown.
having that experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or anybody, let's say.
Oh, those are two different questions.
Oh, okay, well, maybe not you specifically, but let's just say a person with a very
Right.
light ego. Why are they still having that experience then?
I remember when I was writing short stories, I had some sort of filler scene, and then I was talking to my teacher about it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just wrote that. I don't know if I need that. And the teacher is like, it's really good to have your character just interact with their environment, like just kind of have like time interacting. And in this particular short story, my character was in Central Park and encountered some people playing the drums and they triggered her and she hung out with them and they kind of relaxed her and she, kind of like asked her to join them. And it was like a kind of like a moment for her to not be so anxious because she was quite anxious, the character. Um, until you die, you're going to have moments in life. And I think, oh, you know what? This points to a whole other thing. I think a lot of people have a misconception of enlightenment. I think that they think it's some sort of like Buddhist heaven. I think that they think that once you're enlightened, like you're a Superman and you'll be enlightened in every single moment and you're going to be like one with the universe and everything's great, you should be winning the lottery every single week, like something that a child would think. And I'm sure you're really familiar with this like Buddhist proverb of like, before enlightenment, like chop water, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Like you're still going to live your life until it seems like you physically die, which is really funny because on the other side of that, you're going to wake up from this whole experience and it's going to feel so far away. And it's also going to feel like it just happened in a few seconds, But as long as you're here, seemingly here, it feels like this experience will go on for decades. Um, so you're just going to have a lot of different times interacting with this simulacrum. And I think part of the makeup of here is drama.
Okay.
Why did you smile so much at that?
Well, because yeah, drama's kind of ubiquitous, but I didn't think you'd end your sentence with that. Yeah, like I agree. It's just funnily easy to see.
sometimes it's harder to practice. Right now, for whatever reason, it can be sometimes easier to practice, at least for me right now. Um, so it's easier for me to see that woman with like the conniption fit, like who couldn't do a 90% of the 100% price. Like she didn't know how to do that. Like that's her. That's her. And kind of in quotation marks has nothing to do with me. But it actually has something to do with me because it gives me drama. Um, it gives you a little mustard in your day, rather than like the plain pastrami sandwich. So yeah, if you're more caught up in it, if you have more entities in your system, oh, that can trigger you and fuck you up for the rest of the day. Um, yeah, but I think like when you're dreaming and you wake up from your dream, like when you like wake up from your sleep and then you look back on the dream you had, which will disappear in a few seconds because you don't have memory retention of it. Like everything you accomplished or did in that dream is like erased now that you are physically awake and you're going to start your day. And when you look at your actual life in the same way, it's really interesting because I know that this is an illusion. Even the feeling of time going forward and you aging and becoming older, that's a huge, crazy illusion because when you wake up from this, it will really feel exactly the same. Like this happened in a few seconds and you're already moving on. So it's a little bit trippy. It's a little bit trippy to see your nemesis in that way. To tie it back a little bit more, so basically, your nemesis need to kind of be on the opposite end of the chessboard with you, and you yourself tied your like arm behind your back or whatever, metaphorically speaking, because you can still play chess with your other hand. um, and like it kind of gives you something to do if you are chess personified. I think you get a little bit bored playing with yourself. You just go so deep and so far. You need limitations, even to your own consciousness, and even limitations of knowing, like, not knowing how talented you are to make it fun. And then also, then you need an opponent. And yeah, sometimes they play dirty, sometimes they don't. But I think the ones who play dirty and then you win anyway, that feels the most fun. That's the most dramatic, which is why there's so many movies like that, where there's like a karate tournament and one team plays dirty and the other team doesn't. But the team that doesn't play dirty, but plays clean, must always win. That's like every single movie, right? Because that is the thrust of this simulacrum. I think that's all I want to say on that. Do you have any other thoughts or questions or comments or anything?
Mm-mm, no, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.